The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is back. We'll tell you where you can get one in the Valley.
Some parents in West Fargo say they should decide whether their children should continue wearing masks in school.
Plus, the death of a Minnesota first grader has experts taking a closer look at coronavirus cases in children. Valley News Live at 9:10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
The CDC has given the green light for healthcare providers to resume the use of one-dose Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine.
Health officials in both North Dakota and Minnesota are recommending shots of the vaccine again start going into the arms of residents. Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor has more on how at least one local provider is ready to start tomorrow.
The Johnson & Johnson vaccine was put on pause for nearly 2 weeks to allow the CDC to investigate a rare blood clotting side effect.
The only safety signal we have found is 1 in a million chance of a blood clot in the brain.
After looking into the matter, the CDC recently lifted its previously suggested pause on the vaccine. The North Dakota Department of Health is now recommending local health care providers continue using the antiviral medication. Sanford Health in Fargo will begin giving out the vaccine again starting on Tuesday. Officials for the hospital say it's an important step in the effort of reaching herd immunity.
So I think it's really important to use whatever resources we have to prevent a third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave. We have seen how COVID-19 can catch fire and start spreading in the community again without too much of a warning.
But the attention surrounding the short suspension of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine may have some people feeling hesitant to get a shot. Sanford health officials say there's now enough data to back up its effectiveness.
Even though the incidence was 1 in a million, the vaccine safety monitoring system worked, and we picked up a side effect that was as rare as being 1 in a million.
In Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
The Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be available at Sanford Hospital and at the vaccination center inside the former Gordman's building. If you're looking for more options on where to get a COVID vaccine, you can use our VNL vaccine tracker. It's right on the home page of our website. Or you can open your phone camera and point it at the QR code on your screen and then tap the link that pops up.
Law enforcement officers in the Valley are continuing to push for change as most North Dakota agencies are still not operating in the state of Minnesota due to the state's recent deadly force statute. Previous to this new law, officers in Minnesota were able to use deadly force when they felt there was an apparent threat. But now officers must go through a 3-part test before using any force while in the middle of an intense and many times life or death situations.
They have a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. What ifs, if this happens or that happens, that kind of thing.
You can't ask someone to change their mindset in a split second and apply a different standard.
Sheriff Johnner sent a letter to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz asking for a temporary amendment to allow North Dakota officers to follow North Dakota laws and use of force policies when assisting Minnesota agencies. Chief Monroe in Moorhead is asking lawmakers for a pause while they rewrite the statute. The Islamic Moorhead Mosque is cleaned up tonight after being vandalized over the weekend with hate-related graffiti. Hundreds gathered today, cleaning supplies in hand to erase what was written. They tell us the attempt to spread hate failed when it gave people a reason to join together. Police and the FBI are continuing to search for the suspect. Now, if you need help uncovering an issue in your community, here's some advice. Call our Whistleblower Hotline. We'll try to do our best to get to the bottom of it. Call 701-237-6576 and leave your tip.
The city of Moorhead is skipping out on aerial mosquito spraying for now. The council tonight voted to renew its contract with Cass County Vector Control, but opt out of aerial spraying. They could bring it back later this summer after creating parameters for when it would be appropriate. Council members and community members expressed concerns about everything from West Nile and other mosquito-related problems to cancer and infertility.
We saw the damage last year, and if we lose our pollinators, we lose our food.
Once we give it up and we do have a massive outbreak and major health concerns, pretty likely that they'll be flying in Aberdeen and Jamestown and Bemidji and will be left out.
Meanwhile, in Cass County, Vector Control started spraying for mosquitoes today.
North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum will soon decide the fate of millions of dollars in higher education funding. The legislature passed a bill offering grants to North Dakota colleges and universities totaling more than $11 million. Lawmakers added an amendment that says state money cannot be used to pay for curriculum from Planned Parenthood or any other abortion provider. If the school does so, they no longer qualify for the grants.
Nobody in this scholarship program is going to get hurt. Nobody, it sounds like the whole world is going to fall apart. It's not. If a certain institution just decides that that partnership is over.
That might not be the case. According to the bill, if college staff members are caught breaking the law, they could spend up to a month in jail and/or face a $1,500 fine. It'll be up to the governor to approve, veto, or use a line item veto, where he could cross out the sections while keeping the rest of the bill intact.
Parents of students in the West Fargo School District are taking a stand. About a half a dozen parents stood outside the Lidall Education Center as school officials were inside tonight for a board meeting. The parents were holding signs, hoping they could get their voices heard. They say they should have the choice to decide if their children should wear a mask in school.
It's each individual's choice to decide what's best for themselves. And as parents, we're just looking for those rights back. We believe that masks are medical devices and medical decisions must be made by parents.
The founder of Let Parents Decide tells us the West Fargo School Board allows public comment, but only under special invitation. She also says the group has been trying for months to get invited to a school board meeting. President Joe Biden is expected to announce new mask guidance tomorrow. Sources say he will release updated outdoor mask-wearing guidance during his State of the Pandemic remarks. A November review in the Journal of Infectious Diseases found that less than 10% of COVID-19 infections studied occurred outside. Several states still have outdoor mask mandates in place.
The battle over youth sports and COVID-19 protocols continues in Minnesota. Some parents, students, and coaches say the health department hasn't given them clear guidance or requirements or the proof to back it up. Health officials warn of skyrocketing cases among younger people as the variant spread in Minnesota. State health officials recently updated their guidance on youth sports. Masks are no longer required while practicing or competing outside.
The core premise here and the CDC guidance is based upon just the fact that sports activities fit the profile.
Malcolm said there have been some investigations linking spread to sports and games, but not every case can be analyzed with such depth. COVID-19 rarely kills young children, but tonight a community in southwestern Minnesota is mourning the loss of a first grader in Marshall. A letter to parents said the child died as a result of complications from coronavirus. Kate Radich shares what we know about COVID cases in children and why experts believe they're going up.
Marshall Public Schools superintendent told WCCO a first-grade girl named Weekday died from complications from COVID. State health officials have reported an increase in cases and hospitalizations of children from the virus.
One, I think, is COVID fatigue. That's always a big issue right now with people letting down their guard. Two is that there is a new variant going around.
The more contagious B.1.1.7 variant is spreading throughout the state. The governor's office said that the child that died did not have underlying health conditions.
I felt immediately heartbroken for the parents and the family.
Cecilia has a daughter in the district. She wonders if students should go back to distance learning until parents have more information on any potential close contacts in the small town school district.
Education, of course, is important, but their lives are more important too. I mean, you don't get them back. You don't get a do-over.
According to the Marshall School District, 22 students and staff are in quarantine at the elementary school. The superintendent said they are following MDH guidelines and no grades are changing from in-person learning at this time. Pediatric pulmonologist for Children's Minnesota Hospital, Dr. Brooke Moore, said that most children who are getting COVID are asymptomatic or have mild to moderate symptoms, but 10% of cases are severe. Governor Tim Walz said Monday, it is simply heartbreaking to hear that COVID-19 has taken the life of someone so young. My thoughts are with the Minnesota family grieving the loss of their beloved child. There is no grief more profound than the loss of family.
This is the third child under the age of 18 who has died in Minnesota since the start of the pandemic among youth. Experts say children with health conditions, infants and adolescents tend to be more at risk.
We want to thank you for your generous donations for the Golden Drive last week to help children all across the community. These are just some of the nearly 250 bags we filled over the weekend that are going to those in need. The drive was so successful, we are accepting donations this week too. You can drop off any non-perishable food item at the West Fargo Fire Department.
As bad as it was, there's always, there was a light, and today I think it's that light for her.
Still ahead tonight on Valley News Live at 10, a story you won't want to miss. A prom dream come true for a teenager who's just fought cancer.
But first, it's the best 7-day forecast we've seen since September. In less than 2 minutes, Hutch tells us how high the temperatures will rise.